welcome back to Overdunk, everybody, your favorite competitive Pokemon UNITE podcast. This is somehow episode 92. Somehow all of you have let us go this far. Wild scenes, but we are still here. I am Zoinks, joined by my two co-hosts, as always, Bridget and Doomsnacks, who I think are on the mend. If anybody was on Health Watch for last week, it was looking a little rough in the Overdunk household, but I think we're mostly on the mend. Bridget, how have you been feeling lately going on this week?
It was a rough week. I was sick for a week. I'm never sick that long. I was in shambles, but I'm so back. So we're good.
Oh, I love that. We are so back for episode 92. Doomsnacks, how about you? How you feeling?
Feeling well. I was gonna say feeling great. When I was spoiler alerting Zoinks and Manhattan Bridge before we kick this thing off. I just finished day 2 of a 3-day fast. I've only had black coffee and water for the last couple days. So aside from being incredibly famished, overall feeling pretty good.
Good.
And if you're wondering why I'm doing it, it's because I convinced myself that it would be easy. So awesome. I was like, it can't be that hard. And then I just started doing it. So that's why that is happening.
A couple of years down the road, Doomsnacks, we're gonna turn on Netflix. He's gonna be on a season of Alone or something. He's like, can't be that hard. Can't be that hard to survive in the wilderness.
He needs to be on Survivor.
Yeah.
Trying to starve.
Yeah, we gotta get you on all these challenge reality docs. That would be sick. I would love to see. He's a Sableye main. It makes sense.
I mean,
that is a great description. I mean, Bridget's been playing a whole lot more Sableye, I feel like, as of recently. Bridget's been grinding trying to get the ribbon.
Bridget, can you let me have one support character where you're not better at me then, please? Can you stop that, please? Thank you.
I want a ribbon on all of them, and I'm just missing Sableye and Comfy, so
I see.
It's grind time. I got my sticker, so it worked.
Hey, there you go. You made it through. Wow, that's awesome. I think we're all sticker ganged up now. I am below 1600, but I do have the sticker. I made it to the benchmark and then fell back down the hill, but it's okay. We got to 16.
That's all that matters.
Exactly.
All that matters.
The flex on the player card, that's all it takes. But awesome.
Exactly.
Well, I think our weeks were relatively well. On today's episode, we got a few topics that we're going to be going through. First and foremost, and probably the majority of our discussion today, is going to be around the Asia Champions League, which just finished up this last weekend. It's a lot of buzz going on around it. We're definitely going to be talking a little bit about AO's Cup because some more details got released about that tournament. Most notably, registration. We'll say this a few times throughout the episode, but if you are trying to participate in the open bracket at EUIC for AO's Cup, also, they just announced that it's 24 teams are allowed into that open bracket, whereas before we believed it was 32. It actually is 24 teams are going to be allowed into that bracket, and registration goes live on Thursday. So the link is in the Unite Esports tweet, if you can go check it out there, but it's just on rk9.gg. It's going to be the spot that you need to go to sign up for that event. So if you want to participate in that event, go there. We'll say that a few times throughout the episode. But so we'll be talking about that, and then next week we're gonna have our episode next Tuesday, obviously, but that Tuesday's Pokemon Day. So maybe near the episode we'll make some predictions. Even though with Unite there's a lot of data mines and leaks and stuff, we probably know everything that's going to be coming for Unite on that Tuesday. But who knows? Maybe we can look into the crystal ball and find something truly unique. But before we get into all of that, Doomsnacks, I believe you had some kind of story that you wanted to tell the audience before we kick things off.
Okay. So this is a very Banana Land story. It's pretty short, but I will tell it regardless. So on the flight to Burbank, California, because we're recording in studio for the AOS Cup qualifiers, I start smelling something weird.
Okay.
And I'm like, I look at the guy next to me. We both kind of look at each other because we're both like, is that you? And we're just both incredibly lost as to what's happening. And we're both looking around, and finally I see in the row in front of me between the seats is a lady that had cracked open a massive Tupperware of soup.
Awesome.
Just a diesel Tupperware full of soup. Bizarre enough. But this is where it went from weird to this is a problem. I am not kidding with you. She licked the lid of that soup Tupperware for about 2 straight minutes. That is not an exaggeration. She licked the Tupperware lid for 2 straight minutes.
And you just like watched?
I couldn't stop.
Yeah, how do you turn away?
I was like, what is happening here?
Uh-huh.
This is Banana Lands.
Yeah.
And it was Banana Lands. And I was like forever stun locked as to what just happened.
Okay.
It was, that's the story. A lady brought a massive Tupperware of soup and then licked the lid for 2 straight minutes. That's the story.
Did
And
you
I had to share that.
This with the guy next to you?
No, it was like, we don't talk about this anymore. Like, there's no way this is a thing. And I tried to erase it from my memory, and it just did not work. So yeah, that's the story. It's it was crazy. It was crazy. That's very short, but that's the story. So bang.
I love that you, in the end, the moral of the story is, well, I can never talk about that again. But was it gazpacho? Yeah, that could be good. You know what's crazy about soup? Cold soup's like insanely popular in Eastern Europe. I went to Eastern Europe in high school for like a month or so, and it's very weird and off-putting at first, but once you really lick a Tupperware lid full of it, then you're convinced. So maybe I'm with this lady. I can't believe you didn't film this, Stew Snacks. That would have been
content. No, that ain't me. I'm not trying to like content farm off somebody's. I don't know. I'm like, I was gonna say misfortune, but they were into that soup, so maybe I'm the one missing out.
That soup.
But I erased that from my brain the moment I stepped off that plane. It was like I stepped off the plane and whoop, whoop, like it was just a memory that was gone. And it hit me again earlier today when Hannah and I were talking about something. And then all of a sudden she's like, yeah, well, at least we weren't into it like that lady was licking the soup lid. And I was like, I forgot about that. I was like, I have to talk about that tonight. And there you go. Now you all know about the Tupperware soup toting lid licking lady. Bang.
I love that.
And that's the title of the
yeah,
episode.
I was gonna say this week's thumbnail is gonna go crazy with that.
Any stock images of a lady licking a soup Tupperware lid?
I hate AI art, but maybe I'll have to dip into it for plain lady licking soup lid. I don't know how else I'm gonna get that. To commission an art piece, I suppose. Okay, well, thank you. I am so happy, Deuce Next. Thank you for delivering this wonderful tale.
Thank you so much.
It's a fable. It's a true story. It's honestly, you should write a book. It's so good. I love it so much.
Actually, it should be a kid's book.
Yeah.
It's for all ages for sure, but a picture book would lend it some serious favors. That would be good. Scratch and sniff? Okay, maybe we're going too far. But obviously, like I said at the start, we wanted to talk about ACL first and foremost, because that tournament just finished up this weekend. So let's bring up on screen for those of you on YouTube who are watching live. We got the bracket on screen here. I don't know if you can see it too great, but basically, we had the top 8 from ACL. And first thing I wanted to discuss is kind of the format of this event, because they did a lot of things different, more than I expected when we learned about the event. And 2 things really stand out. Number 1, of course, this entire tournament, like the entire top 8, was done in the fearless draft format. Now, we talked about this on the podcast when this was announced for the ACL and their final specific rule way back in the day. But if anybody didn't listen to that episode or does not know what fearless draft is, it's essentially if you pick a Pokemon in one of the games in your set, which all these games were best of 3. If you pick a Pokemon in one of those games, you are not allowed to play that Pokemon for the remainder of the set. So you play Glaceon in game 1, you are not allowed to pick Glaceon in games 2 or games 3, which it's interesting. I've talked a lot about, we'll discuss that in a little bit. But the other part of the format that was a little bit strange and interesting was that this tournament played all of the winners bracket on day 1. So if you lost in the first round of the tournament, you didn't play until the next day. They did all of the winners bracket until they had their first grand finalist through winner's side, which was Kabi-chan's, the number 2 seed from Japan. And then the next day, they played all of the losers bracket all in a row. So yeah, it was really interesting. But let's start with the draft format. First of all, let me jump on it because I think I've been maybe the most vocal about this. I know people love this draft format. I did not like it. I was not a huge fan. I've never been a huge fan of Fearless Draft, if I'm being super honest. However, and mostly because I think it gives, I've talked a lot about why I dislike it, but I think it kind of lowers the amount of good coordinated team play we see and increases the amount of highlights that we put on individual player skill, which is fine. I just rather seeing good teams play together rather than just watching one player potentially carry with a pocket pick. And this variety that they are looking for with this format, I don't think actually existed. I know a lot of people were like, oh, we're gonna see so much new stuff. And a couple of teams brought that, but for the most part, the metagame is so deep right now that there are so many genuine good picks that for the most part, the better strategy was to just pick decent comps or good Pokemon, even if they're not in the perfect composition you'd like them to have. And work their way through. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the draft. I'm curious on your two, though, because maybe you're not as jaded and a stick in the mud as I am. So I'd love to hear you two talk about it. Either one of you, which one wants to jump on Fearless Draft?
London Bridge, take it.
Whoa, so many bridge names that you're aware of.
I should have done it before that I'm aware of. I just named the 2 bridges that I know.
Okay.
Roebling Bridge, bang, that's 3.
Bang,
But I'll put that back in the corner.
Okay, yeah, we'll save it for later. I see where you're coming from, Zoinks. Like, I do feel like we maybe weren't seeing, like, the highest quality drafts in play because you have to kind of, like, accommodate, like, playing a game 2 or 3. You can't, like, totally burn through everything. And yeah, nothing, like, there were some teams that went a little crazy. Unite Holic did some crazy stuff. I would say they were probably the only ones where I was like, what are they cooking? Like, what's going on?
Yes.
But other than that, nothing seemed like... It was interesting to see, like, what they could do. Like, I do feel like it added a fun element to, like, the viewing experience. Like, oh, they can't do this, so maybe this. But
yes.
I wish, and I think we talked about it when we were doing, like, a watch party, that I wish there was more, like, almost, like, on-screen graphics.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Because I think that is, like, the best part, probably. Like, oh, what's gonna happen? What could they do? What would they do? And it was just so hard to keep track of who was picking what could they do next. Like,
yeah, it is.
And obviously the teams, like, had time to discuss it in between every single game, so I just feel like it was kind of a miss on, I don't know, it would have been a big lift, but
yeah,
that time could have easily been spent speculating.
For sure. You actually bring up a good topic on the production of it, because I do think production plays a large part if the viewers enjoy that system or not. Like, we were relying on Kellosaurus to be like putting it in Google Docs for us after every single game, which she was killing it at, which was awesome.
She was.
But like, the wild thing is production had those graphics. Like, we saw them pop up on the screen every now and then. It was like game 1 picks in like a column, and then they would like fade out and then fade in the game 2 picks. I'm like, just have both graphics up at the same time the whole time. This is awesome. And then we like know what options they can and can't pick, which I particularly would have enjoyed a little bit more. But all right, before I rant even more, Deucex, your thoughts on Fearless Draft?
So at first I thought it was pretty dope. And then, you know, me, you, and Spraggles were chatting a whole bunch about it. And I think I was succinctly convinced that it wasn't dope. And because like you'd think it would drive a bunch of variety, until we looked at the stats that Poker put out, and it just like didn't
too, actually. But
yeah, and like it just didn't materialize that way. Which is, I think, all a sign that I did not watch enough ACL to cement that conclusion. I think if I'd have watched the whole time, like you did, like you both did, I probably would have gotten to that conclusion. So overall, I'd rather just have a second ban. Long story short, just give me the second ban.
Yeah, so we're actually looking at the statistics, because I think that is the main talking point, right? The reason people want Fearless Draft is because they're sick and tired of seeing the same thing every game. And I can I can understand that sentiment. From the general viewership perspective, I see how a format like this can be appealing, or even players. Like players who are more interested in learning a bunch of new Pokemon and that being the main gimmick, or that being kind of the benchmark of success is how wide your Pokemon pool is. I totally understand why something like a format like this would be successful. But we're taking a look at these picks. I have to scroll down to like 28. The 28th most popular pick for me to really consider something like spicy. Like, really, Mamoswine was picked 3 times throughout the tournament, which is a lot of games for it to only be picked 3 times, and it eventually shows up. So yeah, so I don't know. That was a little disappointing for me, I guess. To not see that variety as much. And then even when we did see the variety, it felt like it was a bummer. Like, you mentioned Unite Holic already, Bridget. Obviously, they're kind of infamous for their Game 2 draft. They did this in both of their matches that they did it against Team MOS, in which they won that set in a best of 3, and they won it 2-1. And they did it in the match in their losers bracket, which they lost. Which, essentially, they just picked a bunch of bad stuff. They had Cramorant, they perma-invaded on Umbreon, and I mean permanent, like 8 minutes of invading on Umbreon in the enemy central area. It was wild to see what was going down in that way. It was, to me, it read as a clear strategy of, let's pick very subpar Pokemon and get the strong picks out of our enemies' hands so that in the next game, we can really excel when they have weaker picks and we can pick really strong Pokemon. Which, as a strategy, makes sense conceptually. However, for one reason, I think there's just too many good Pokemon to make that a viable strategy. And 2, if that is a good strategy at the top level of competitive Pokemon, that frustrates me so much. If a strategy of let's punt a game for a later success, that's a bummer to me. I don't know. I just don't find that very fun. Even if it's like, we could maybe win with all these things. I don't know. I personally am not a huge fan of it. Maybe it's just Unite Holic's execution of it was a little rough, because obviously that they did not look good in that game. They were definitely, the True Gravity just walked all over them. And then True Gravity even counter-drafted them into their score comp that Unite Holic could have potentially brought out with the Sableye ban, which I think was one of the craziest moments, but yeah. Anyway, before we move on, and we're definitely going to talk about True Gravity, because holy crap, what a storyline from that team. It was so cool. I absolutely loved it. Any more thoughts on Fearless Draft? Because, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan, but I will say, I think I was even less of a fan before I came into this tournament. I think there was a few games where I was like, okay, this is cool. I would love to see some improvements, but anyway, that's where I'm feeling. Dupes, thanks for Bridget. Any last thoughts on Fearless Draft before we move on?
It feels like they did Fearless Draft just to, as a tip of the cap to, we understand we need to do something more to drive diversity within our format, but we're not ready to do double bans within the system yet. So this is exactly to when Spraggles did the Showdown format, which is effectively this. It was because we didn't, because we didn't have draft in the game yet, right? That's kind of how that propagated itself. And it almost feels like we're kind of hitting that cycle again. Like, we understand there's not enough variety right now. This is our tip of the cap to try and make something happen within the systems that we have.
Yeah, that's true. I'm curious if
and my daughter just woke up, so I will be right back.
Okay, sounds good. Deuce next. Go be a dad. Bridget, how about you? Any last thoughts on Fearless Draft before we jump on to the next one?
The only other thing is, I am glad they're doing something else. I just, like, I think we've talked about a lot, is we would have preferred to see a double ban thing, which I get that it's like not in the UI necessarily, but like, neither is this. I don't know. I'm glad we're at least trying different things. You know, I'm never going to be really mad about that unless it's like clearly terrible, but I don't think this is like the worst thing that's ever happened.
Also, shout out to the absolute GOAT, Danley, in our chat, who killed it all weekend on the English coverage of ACL. Yeah. She was absolutely incredible. So thank you for joining us in chat, Danley. Saying that if we have enough Pokemon for Fearless, we have enough Pokemon for 3 bans for each team. I think we could see 3 bans each game. It would be really interesting. I think the first conversation that always comes up is like, well, is there enough supports in the team? But like, I think if you're really hard targeting supports that much in your ban phase, there's going to be no supports for either side at the end of it. So like, is
Mhm.
it really worth it? You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Interesting. Food for thought for sure. But I do see people in chat kind of advocating for Fearless Draft and saying they did enjoy it at times. So that's the thing. I always got to be like, it's kind of a taste thing at the end of the day. I think I mean, viewers really enjoy this format, and that's okay. It's positive. I liked it more when it was set for the regional qualifier grand finals that didn't really mean anything other than seeding. It made a ton of sense. It's like, yeah, let's shake up the format. Who cares? Like, let's have a reason to watch this game, because seeding matches are terrible. Like, esports has learned this the hard way time and time again. Nobody wants to watch seeding matches. So I think that's fair. So but yeah, anyway, that's where I'm feeling with that. The other thing about the format, Bridget, which I don't think there'll be as many thoughts on this one, but how'd you feel about all of winners on one side and all of losers in the next day, day 1 and day 2?
I actually kind of liked it. I
Yeah.
know it was weird, and I don't know if it's necessarily what's best for the players. I don't know. I could see it going either way, because it's like, oh, we got knocked out today. Like, we really gotta lock in tomorrow, like wake up like hungry, like, whereas I feel like coming off a loss and like ending up in losers bracket, like your mental could just be like kind of boomed. So I think I liked it.
Yeah.
I feel like it was kind of easier to follow the bracket.
That's true.
Both days, like, oh, I know we're doing winter side only today. Oh, I know we're only doing loser side and grands tomorrow. So it's definitely weird, but I actually wasn't too mad about it.
Yeah. I actually kind of felt that way too. I was like really opposed to it when I first saw that's what they were doing. I was like, oh my gosh. I think the only part, I guess the part that scared me the most is what I really was going to talk about. It's like, that's going to be so exhausting for a team to try to make a losers bracket run. You know what I mean? Like, who has to start in losers round 1? Like, that's just so, you have to be so optimistic to think that a team could make it all the way to grand finals if they had to play that many matches in a row in a very mentally taxing format of Fearless Draft, right? Like, that is so difficult.
True.
And yes, it does make it difficult, but also True Gravity found a way to push through, because they did start in that round and then make it all the way to grand finals. We do have Chatless Mim saying that it must suck for winners finals to be coming in cold. That is true. However, that usually happens in a bracket anyways. Like, the winners finals is usually quite a bit earlier than sometimes it leads directly into losers finals, but when you're running best of 3 tournaments, usually you have to wait a couple of rounds anyways. So yes, that's true, but at the end of the day, the winner side has a winner side advantage. They have the bracket reset to play around with. So if you really need to warm up, you have that first set to warm up, and then you can try to play it out. That's why winner side advantage is so unbelievably important. So it's a bit of a give and take. If anything, like, the losers finalist waiting, maybe it's a little riskier for them to be coming in cold when it seems like I feel a little bit worse for Talon in this situation, who had to go up against a very hot True Gravity. Maybe they had it worse than Kabishans, who were in grand finals, but so that maybe that point stands a little bit harder for them. But yeah, otherwise, I don't know. I thought it was pretty interesting. Bridget, what do we want to talk about? Teams and storylines out of this ACL, or Pokemon selection and kind of the metagame that looked first? Which one would you rather discuss first?
Trying to think which one Dupe Snacks cares about more, and I'm not really sure.
It's probably teams, right? I mean, he's gonna go nuts for a couple of these teams. So maybe, all right, let's talk about the Pokemon pick. So I believe these are the stats that Poker accumulated and then worked with the person who updates all of the Unite Liquipedia.
Oh, cool.
So really cool to see this stuff in game. We of course have the amount of picks, then the wins and losses, and we even have the amount of picks for orange and purple side, which I think is really cool in this game. Inteleon and Blastoise, the two Pokemon kind of standing above the rest in this region. 13-6 on Inteleon for wins losses, and 13-5 for Blastoise. Which I don't think those are too out of left field. In the West, we have seen Inteleon slide a little bit down these play charts. Just some of the more attacker-based EVs have been a little bit stronger. However, when you have to pick a different bot lane attacker every single game of a best of 3, I think this Pokemon is really going to be insanely strong. The big shocker, if we're comparing East and West, I think has to be, where are you, Buzzwole?
Oh no.
Buzzwole went 4-9 on the weekend. A 30%
Dang.
win rate. Here, let me actually just sort by win rate. This will be a little bit easier to look at. So, let's do, lowest to top. I mean, Metagross only got played a couple. Let's go to the first big. Oh, that's the other one. Leafeon.
Oh my
2-9. 2-9. So bizarre. To see Pokemon like that we consider to be so incredible. Even Crustle. Crustle was picked 16 times on the day and only came away with a 31% win rate. So pretty bizarre regional differences between our regions. I'm not too sure where the Buzzwole and Leafeon stats are coming from, but here's my theory, Bridget, on the Crustle.
Okay.
Crustle is really only meta because of how well it works with lane partners right now in the metagame, right? You love picking Double Sniper or Double Beam with a Crustle because of how well it enables it. Rock Tomb's unbelievable for them. The hit rate of your long-range attack damage moves just skyrockets in terms of percentage damage. It does really well there, but in a form like Fearless Draft, where you kind of have to take a power pick like a Teleon, you don't really, sometimes you can't land it with Crustle, you know what I mean? Like, it just makes it a little tougher to line those things up. I feel like Crustle might have got exposed in this format a little bit of like, well, if it doesn't have the right draft, it really falters. And maybe that's the same case for Pokemon like Leafeon and Buzzwole too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense where who you're pairing it is kind of where it either sinks or swims.
Yeah. Wow, even Venusaur,
guess
2-6. 25% win rate on Venusaur. Oof.
Like, maybe they just really love that Inteleon sniper over, and I guess you are like more of a secure threat early game with Intel than like a Venusaur, but
true, yeah. If anything, Intel
really
being picked this many times and still walking away with an almost 70% win rate is pretty impressive. Trevenant as well, who I think works very well in this format specifically. Trevenant, I think, is one of the best defenders at just sort of slotting in with any team composition because of how self-reliant it is. And I think that's why we're seeing it walk away with 10-4. It's really strong. Also, just a lot of really good Trevenant players in the East, in my personal opinion. Also, shout out to the 5 Pokemon with 100% win rate. Obviously, this is the Exodia comp. If anyone wants success in tournaments, you should just select these 5 Pokemon, and you will win 100% of the game. Of course, podcast listeners, I'm referring to Blaziken, Scyther, Delphox, Mr. Mime, and Talonflame, the only Pokemon in the tournament with a 100% win rate. Blaziken had 3 plays, Scyther had 2, everybody else only 1, and the Mime and Talonflame were on the infamous score comp from Unite Holic, which we will talk about when we start discussing the teams, but yeah. Yeah, Garb, yeah, Leafeon rocking that 2-9, shockingly low win rate. Let's go to the other side of the table, though. Let's look at high percentage win rate. Anything surprise you on this list, Bridget, with a exceptionally high win rate?
I would say the most surprising one to me is a Mimikyu.
Yeah.
Not because I think I actually think Mimikyu is in a really good spot. Maybe not Trick Room, but
right.
I think we're okay with that, or at least I am, because I think Mimikyu's kit is still really strong and good, especially in the right hands, and it seemed to play really well into some of these weird comps, or maybe the East just like respects it more, because it seems to be like, I mean, it was definitely played in the Western countries for AOS quals, but I don't think to this success. I could be wrong. But...
No, I think you're right. I mean, it falls a little bit lower than a lot of the other strong, because usually you're wanting to play Mimikyu Central. I feel like playing it top in this metagame right now too is pretty tough, but interesting stats actually too. I love this screen. We actually have what teams played this Pokemon. So, Team NYS played Mimikyu 3 times, Team Rise played them 2 times, and Talon played them 2. That's all APAC. APAC SCA loves Mimikyu, which is really interesting to see that Pokemon so dominated by that region and not played by Japan, not played by Korea, and not played by India. Which is super interesting. Which, yeah, that's pretty cool. I love that statics. This page is awesome. We're
Yeah, it
definitely
is.
gonna have
It's
to
really
go.
cool.
We're gonna have to deep dive on this one. I think another Pokemon that did exceptionally well was Blissey. However, it felt like a lot of the supports we were just kind of picking one, whatever we had left. We're gonna grab that Pokemon. Blissey and Clefable were Blissey was 7 and 6, Clefable was 9 and 8. So, just not too much to glean from that. Just high pick rates, pretty even on the win rate side of things. Comfey boasted a higher win rate at 2 and 1 though, so just too small of like a data point, I think, to really break it down. Of course, Mr. Mime is the best, 1 and 0,
Yeah,
on the table for
dominant.
the support. Is there any other stats you'd wanted to see? Maybe actually, let's just quick check. What Pokemon was picked the most on Orange side? Ooh, Slowbro.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I feel like I guess Umbreon was pretty much like perma banned. I feel like during like all of these games. So I was kind of like, oh, I feel like the Slowbro pick and win rate was like way higher than I expected because I feel like a lot of people considered Blastoise, Trev, Crustle, like to be the big three. And Umbreon if it's there, but I feel like it's never there.
Right. Yeah. Oof.
So I was kind of
Umbreon all the way down here.
I know. So I was surprised at how much Slowbro there was, but
yeah.
It's kind of never bad. So just unite the right person and its value is there. So
it went 10 and 7 too. So as a defender did really, really well. Jungle Carp, not every Pokemon got picked. There's definitely some Pokemon on the roster that didn't make it there. That's actually probably the best talking point for us to finish up these Pokemon selections, Bridget. Is there were some Pokemon that we were really surprised didn't see any play in the Asian Champions League. Namely, I think the ones that we discussed a lot were Chandelure and Gardevoir. Not a single pick out of the entire list were playing Chandelure or Gardevoir.
I don't know how.
I know.
There are no Gardevoirs. That seems insane. It actually seems insane. Guardia Unite is so strong.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people say Elsuke, but you only pick Glaceon one game. Like, you only pick Glaceon one game. It's not like tanky, like double defender comps weren't getting picked. Like, so many times you were seeing double defender emerge, right? Like, let's take a look at Slowbro. Played with. It was played alongside Blastoise 9 times. Man, these stats are amazing. When you pair Slowbro with Blastoise, it went 7 and 2. When you pair Slowbro with Clefable, it goes 2 and 3. Interesting.
It's so cool.
Yeah, Blastoise, obviously similar stats. Trevenant, doing quite well. But anyway, you see how these kind of options lay out, but it's surprising that we're not seeing those. Any other Pokemon that you think you were kind of shocked to not see more of? Yeah, Buzz with 4-9 is insane. We talked about that at the start, but really, really surprising.
Yeah, I feel like the other one was definitely Chandelure. I feel like especially because we were just coming off watching the Brazil top 4 VOD.
Yeah,
for
that's true.
Brazil
went nuts.
Chandelure was in every game, and they weren't even doing fearless drafts. They just liked. It's so interesting seeing like the drastic differences like that between. I mean, especially ACL, where it's like a lot of regions. Like, you would think at least someone would be wanting to run it. So
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah. It is kind of crazy. It's cool to see the stylistic changes, though, obviously. I mean, I think that it's always been a stylistic change between East and West. West loves their late-game scaling Pokemon. We really like to have a hyper carry, just Omega farmed, Omega fed. Japan specifically, but a lot of the East has never really enjoyed that style of play. They really like early advantages, really favor winning a team fight even before first Regis spawn in, so they can have access there, and then so many many invades, just to like really push that advantage as well. So we do see quite a bit about that. And no, yeah, definitely Dragonite sees a lot of play over Venu. Yeah, chat, thank you so much for throwing your shots in. I really should get better about reading it. Ginger with an interesting point too. Umbreon Buzz was a very common ban, which is maybe why they have lower win rates, because they weren't banned and the opponents were preparing for them in particular. Yeah, that's true. If you're gonna let Buzzwole or Umbreon go through the draft, you probably have a plan for it. I think Umbreon had a way higher ban rate than Buzzwole, only because Buzzwole still saw 13 games. And Teleon had the most at 19, but Buzzwole still saw 13 games, Umbreon at 12. So yeah, they did get banned a decent amount, but still found their way into a decent amount of games too. Yeah. Oh yeah, ACL played Tyranitar in their regionals, but not in the grand finals. Come on.
Lame.
One more thing we got to shout out though is one of those 100% win rate Pokemon, Blaziken, the 3 games. Yo, Kabi-chan's, the team from Japan that won the whole grand finals. This team is crazy good. Like, they are so sick. Their Blaziken player is so fantastic. But their Inteleon, I think, is truly what takes the spotlight. They are incredible. Watching this team play is so exciting. Kabi-chan's is a fantastic team. And they're one of the 2 teams that is going to be going to the AOS Cup, which is so awesome. Yeah, that's true. Zoroark and Blaziken. So, yeah, they're going, and so is Unite Holic, which, interesting team. But let's start talking about the teams themselves, Bridget, and how the tournament went down. So, let's start with Unite Holic, because I'm not gonna lie, they are the biggest disappointment of the tournament for me. Which, Rise disappointed me too, but Unite Holic disappointed me more. But Bridget, I gotta hear, what are you thinking about Unite Holic? Just a quick recap though for the audio listeners. Unite Holic started their tournament run against Team MYS, and they won in a close 2-1 set. 2-1 they won. They lost to Talon Esports in their second round, 0-2, and then their next round was against True Gravity from India, and they lost 0-2 again. So 1-2 on the tournament, but they did win the Japanese regional qualifier. So they obviously are a successful team in the past, but had a shaky showing in ACL, to say it best. How are you feeling about this team, Bridget?
Yeah, so really what I know about this team is, this is Mame's team.
Yes.
He is just an exceptional player from Japan that has made like breakout performances, I feel like, at Worlds both years. So that's really kind of my frame of reference for this team. So I was expecting, if I recognize anyone, I'm like, oh, they're probably going to be really good, because I'm not super familiar with a lot of these teams and players, and some of them are new. Isn't Kabi-chan's like new players, or is that a different team?
No, they are mostly new players. Like, none of their players have played at Worlds before, which I think is a pretty good show for a new player. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I said it, but I think so.
I thought so. I thought like they were mostly like rookies or whatever. So yeah, definitely disappointing, but also just kind of felt like kind of how we were talking about their draft. Like, they were doing like weird, unique stuff, but it almost felt like throwaways. Like, I don't know. I don't want to be like, were they not taking it seriously? Like, what was the plan? Like, I did not see the vision.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely disappointing to see them get knocked out pretty quickly on day 1 and then day 2. I mean, to their credit, they faced True Gravity pretty early on, and they were obviously on
they had a tough True Gravity team. But yeah.
But they beat them pretty, like you said, formidably. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, Danley's actually saying it best in chat right now. Unite Holic were the only team, in my opinion, that approached this tournament in this way, of trying to burn the enemy Pokemon, or the enemy team's Pokemon pool. So they preferred to pick just kind of average to worse than average Pokemon to really make the other team run out of resources, and then they would get their better stuff later. It worked once. They were able to beat Team MYS in the quarterfinals. This was with a score composition in Game 3. It was Talonflame, Sableye, Mr. Mime, a lot of crazy, bizarre strats. Apparently, I was getting told by chat when we were doing the watch party that a member of Unite Holic actually used to team with Yamada. So the Yamada strat from this, it's still existing. So it's good to see the heritage is still a part of competitive Pokemon Unite. So Score Comp enjoyers, rise up. It's here again. I'm sure Chris Heroes has like 4 or 5 videos on it already. Go watch those. It's crazy. Yeah. So it has arrived. You know how, like, then they lose to Talon Esports. Talon Esports is just an incredible team. I really do think they are very, very strong. But so I understand Unite Holic taking that last one. Against True Gravity, they tried this composition that we already ranted about this, I guess, a little bit. But anyway, just, I don't know. I think Unite Holic wanted to try a specific strategy for this tournament, which the format would kind of enable in theory. It did fall flat. We saw the kind of better strategies emerge throughout the day, like Team True Gravity was playing, or even Team MYS, who also had a fantastic run of just pick good things and maybe let our central area player flex. And then we'll be fine. But, so yeah, Unite Holic landing a little bit lower there. The other team I think I wanted to talk about a decent amount. Well, one, Zora Tigers Gaming, the team from Korea, I think are incredibly strong. They lost 2-1 to Team Rise and 2-1 to Team MYS. They were a very good team. All of those matches were so close. I just do think they ran into very difficult opponents, but I mean, you are going to at a international in-person LAN event. Like, that's going to happen no matter what. So I hope this team sticks together for Zora Tigers Gaming. We get to see more from them because I do think they're a really, really good team. E-Arena was the local team that they won the Thailand Open. They did lose. I mean, there's definitely potential there. We might see more from them. But yeah, Rise Gaming was the other team that I was like, ugh, I wish we could have seen more from them. They got first in their SEA qualifier tournament. This is basically RRQ from last year. Who did very, very well in Worlds. They didn't win it, obviously. Not Omo. Omo Obsidian, by the way, is now going under the name Team Elevate. Or at least most of the players are, and they actually didn't even qualify for this tournament. They got beat out by the likes of Rise, Talon, all that, or not the other SEA region they got beat out by, but still, impressive stuff there. But Rise were able to take down Zora Tigers Gaming. They did lose to Kabi-chans, the eventual winners of the tournament, and then they lost to Team MYS. And I don't know. To me, it just seemed like MYS and True Gravity, they just had the heat that day. How about you? How are you feeling? I know we only got to see that one Rise versus Team MYS game. But yeah, this team, I don't know. I think it's still a potential. How are you feeling about this squad?
Yeah, I did remember liking RRQ during Worlds last year, so I don't think I realized they were similar players, which is on me. So I feel like just even making it to this tournament is already a pretty big vouch for
sure.
I mean, at least how they're doing in like this meta. Who knows like how it's gonna be throughout the next couple months. I can't imagine it changed that much, but who knows. So I think they're definitely someone to keep an eye on and keep watching throughout all of this. But
absolutely,
yeah, just this tournament was really stacked and
that was so good. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe they're one of the teams that'll sign up in EUIC for the international LAN. Who knows? Or maybe in NA for NAIC. Who knows? But it'd be awesome.
Sign up for EUIC on Thursday.
Come on, Rise. Start shelling out the cash. Get your players flown out. Let's go. But who knows? But I do think the major story of this tournament relies on 3 teams, and it's Kabi-chans, MYS, and True Gravity. MYS is a team, we're talking about known players. MYS is a lot of well-known players. They played amazing in some of the players in Worlds. I mean, this is Nightmew Foxy's team, Foxy was, I believe, on... Oh, no, Lewis was the Mew player on Omomo. But anyway, Foxy, incredible player. Ice is just an incredible player and like kind of beloved by the North American scene. Like he is definitely, he's on Twitter a lot, and at Worlds Year One, he definitely made a lot of friends in the NA scene. So a lot of people love this team. They made it really, really far. They won 2 games in the losers bracket. They started their losers bracket run. They were able to take out Zora Tigers Gaming and Rise, and then they fell to True Gravity, who was kind of nuts. But I do think Team MYS having this kind of a breakout performance on this international LAN event is really good tidings for this team because, I mean, they got 3rd place in their regional qualifier. And I think a lot of people were kind of left scratching their heads. A lot of MYS fans out there were kind of shocked that they lost out to Rise and Talon. So I think I think it was Talon specifically. I don't think they got the chance to play Rise. But anyway, Either way, it's a team that I think this tournament maybe relit the flame of a few fans of Team MYS. So I'm personally excited about that. I also made some bets, which I will not be paying up on to some members of my chat, believing in Rise. And I did lose, and that guy is owed my house if I were to own one. But anyway, but yeah, MYS making the run. Bridget, the Dupsnax is still not back, unfortunately, but I know he'd love to talk about True Gravity, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on True Gravity, the team from India.
This was like hype because I feel like the storyline going into this was like India hasn't won a set on a world stage yet.
Yeah,
like
literally
that
never.
was kind of the plot line going into this. So when they lost in round 1, people were like, "Oh no!" And then they beat their first opponent. It was E Arena, yeah, in losers bracket on day 2. So that was kind of like their dub, I feel like, already. Like, I mean, their dub from Worlds last year was taking a game off LG as a country, but this run, I don't think people expected this at all. Like, I feel like they were very much like looked at as an underdog.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
This, I mean, and just to start in losers bracket round 1 and go all the way to grands, like, it's just, you can't make this stuff up. Like, it's just like what you kind of want to watch. Yeah. It's like, how can you not like root for them?
Yeah.
I put a lot of respect on India like teams. I think they're really cool, and yeah, they showed up bigly. It was cool.
This team was, in particular, I think, shocked so many people, me included. It was so fun to watch. When they took that first win over E Arena, I was like, okay, let's go. True Gravity did it. They got their first international win. It was like, okay, but, I mean, Unite Holic as their next, Mame's team from Japan, the number 1 seeded team from Japan is the next round. They 2-0 them. They move on. They ban Sableye in game 2 to prevent score comp. It was so sick. And they take them out. And then they go up against fan favorites Team MYS. And they beat them 2-1 in a knockout drag-out fight. Absolutely crazy. And they go up against Talon Esports, who's been waiting their opponent, I'm sure, preparing for every team other than True Gravity at this point. Probably talking about drafts that they're like, oh, we gotta prepare for MYS's draft. They're gonna grab Mew. They're gonna grab the Slowbro for Ice. Like, we're planning on all this. And then it's True Gravity who just plays the perma-winning D-Knight to losers bracket finals. Wins that one 2-0 and makes it all the way to the grand finals, where unfortunately they do run out of steam, but again, Gabi-chan's is just an unbelievably good team. So Gabi-chan's is the only team that could stop True Gravity, but obviously an insanely good run, playing 5 matches of Unite in Fearless Draft in a row. Such a hard gauntlet, but Dupsnax, you returned just in time. Thoughts on True Gravity and their insane run?
Yeah, huge fan, obviously. Without getting too much into the loosey-goosey details of the event itself, because I'm not super tapped in and I don't want to rehash anything that you all have already said. I've been a pretty ardent supporter of India since year 1. Speaking to their teams at speaking to their players at Worlds, it was super enlightening. It was super exciting. Obviously, they didn't have the performance year 1 that they expected or that they anticipated for themselves, but a lot of motivation to get better there. A lot of teams playing in that region, a lot of people playing in that region. Year 2, obviously, UCS finals. They're the only team to take a game off of LG, and I think that's the moment where everybody kind of fell in love with India, because that was just one of the hypest sets of Worlds, period. And seeing this progression out of India is amazingly fun. It's one of those things that's like, a 1-team represented region, or excuse me, a 2-team represented region. Smaller, not a lot of expectations, but having them have this tournament run certainly motivates the region itself, motivates True Gravity, motivates the teams that maybe scrim against True Gravity and typically beat them or something like that, right? Now that everybody kind of gets the feeling that, if they could beat them, we've beat them, we can beat them too, type of energy. I don't know if either of you are, but I'm in the India Unite Discord, and I kind of cool. I lurk there quite a bit, and it's just an awesome place. Like, that is a very, very active community. So all super excited for this result for them. Big fat W across the boards as a viewer, as a supporter of India, as the Indian community itself. Like, I mean, it's just like, I don't know what else you could ask for besides like a win, right?
Yeah.
So that's all I'll say. Super dope.
That's awesome. Yeah, he was such a good tournament run from them. So fun to see how strong they were. Like we said in chat, people were mentioning that the Dragonite had the 100% win rate up until Grand Finals for them. They really, really liked that Pokemon. All their interviews, they just talked about how if something goes wrong, it's okay. We'll just flip Ray, which I thought was very funny. The honesty out of the ACL teams in the interview stage was hilarious. If anyone tuned into the watch party we had, I could not stop laughing at the Zora Tigers Gaming interview every single time, because that guy was like, yeah, no, we're a pretty good team, we do quite well, except for when we play Team Gabi-chans. Oh man, we cannot play that team. And then he was like, we lost to them in the qualifier, so we practiced really hard and planned against their drafts, and then they played something different in qualifiers and they beat us again. And he's like, I think if we played them 10 times, I think we'd lose to them 9 out of 10.
It's like so specific.
I was laughing so hard. I was like, this guy's the best. He just hates this team. And whoever edited together that interview is an absolute champion, because it was so funny. It made me laugh so hard, obviously.
Was it at ACL where they were having the players give themselves their own stats in different categories?
Oh, what was that? I remember what you were talking about. I think it was.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I think it was like an earlier broadcast. I know Danily seems to be pinging in here.
She's saying yes. I don't know what
I remember that.
That was sick. Like, that was awesome. Like, and some people took it kind of corny. Some people just did it super seriously. But either way, the result is awesome.
Right.
It was so.
Oh, yeah, the stars. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay,
that was so sick. And like, yeah, people would be like, yeah, like 5 mental, 1 mechanics, like just hilarious type stuff. Anyways, that's derailing a little bit, but I thought that was great.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. I love that stuff. Anyway, at the end of all this, ACL was absolutely dope. I think the production they put on was really fantastic. Stage was sweet. It was unfortunate there was some talk about not as many people in the audience as maybe we'd like to see, but who knows, maybe a different host country next year if the Asian Champions League continues, which I think we all kind of expect it will. Maybe it'll be a more popular Unite country. Who knows? Either way, it was a super cool event. And Danily did an incredible job. So and I think that is
big shouts to Danily. Absolute legend.
Yeah.
You just needed Spraggles in the crowd hyping him up more.
That's true. He was there. He was just exceptionally quiet.
Weird.
Now, the final thing we want to talk about before the end, because we're already going long. Wonder Chef made fun of me that this podcast goes long all the time. I was like, no, we stick pretty close to an hour. And then like 3 episodes in a row, we went long. We got to talk a little bit about the AOS Cup happening in April. There's a couple of big PSAs I want to put out here at this point in time. One, March Cup qualifier signups are now open, so if you want to participate in the March Cup, please go do that online tournament. Maybe more importantly though, on Thursday, if you are wanting to participate in the AOS Cup at EUIC, the registration will be opening on rk9.gg to participate. It's just been announced that this open bracket will only be holding up to 24 teams in this bracket, which before I believe we were under the impression that it would be 32, but it's not, only up to 24 teams. So numbers are limited. You want to get in there. 5 rounds of best of 1 Swiss will be happening, and then it'll be the group stage. 4 groups of 4 in best of 3 double elimination brackets, which is a very cool change. I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast yet. But just in case anybody doesn't know how they work, I will explain it very quickly. Instead of playing round robin in these groups, these teams who make it to the group stage, so you make it through the open, or you're one of the 8 invited teams, you will be playing in a double elimination bracket instead of playing every other team in your group. So if you made it in by being invited, you will probably play one of the open teams first, and then you will play the winner of the other 2 teams in your group. And if you win that one, you make it. If you lost in any of those moments, you'll move down to the lower bracket. You gotta just think about it as a very small double elimination bracket. Just good for a few reasons. One, if you were worried about teams not having enough games to play, they have 5 rounds of best of 1 Swiss. That'll be totally fine. But if you are, the best thing about these games is that there is no nothing games. Two teams who are already disqualified from contention of making it out of the group stage won't have to play each other, which has kind of been a big critique of the format in previous years. I'm sure Worlds will still probably do round robin. I don't see how you could do it without a way to seed teams. But anyway, this is a really cool aspect. So you won't be like forced to play, like if you just got knocked out of the tournament, you're upset, you're kind of playing for nothing. You won't have to do that, which is a really cool thing. And then of course, the bracket stage will be happening on the next day. This is day 2 in bracket. On my stream, me and a few players were theorizing they're doing all of day 2 is going to be the top 8 bracket, which means only one day for a top 8 bracket. I'm pretty sure that they will be doing it like how they've done the monthly qualifiers. If you make it at a group stage on the loser side, you are probably going to start in the loser side of top 8. That is my expectation. But anyway, a lot of format changes. Yeah, make sure to sign up. Any thoughts from the two of you about AS Cup, April 5th to 6th at UIC? Bridget?
I hope there's a B stream, but I'm not super hopeful. Maybe we'll have a Sneaky Seal-like character just watching the game, spectating, streaming from their phone, so we can see. There's going to be so many hype games. Like, I love the open bracket. Like, I like this format, honestly, but yeah, I wish we could. It's kind of definitely a question mark on what exactly we're going to see, if anything other than top 4. So.
Right. Let me point to this because obviously I've communicated with Pokemon before. I can't say anything specific, but I do know I can just say that they are hoping to broadcast as much as they can, and there are plans in place for stuff. I'm sorry, I can't really do much more specifics than that. But I would say be more optimistic than anything about broadcasting games specifically. I'm pretty pumped about it. So yeah.
I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I'll take stuff.
Yeah, the stuff. All right, Deucex, how about you? AOS Cup format thoughts?
The only thing I want to harp about the AOS Cup format thoughts specifically is, please, if you intend on playing, sign up. Because
for real,
historically, as Zoink's already mentioned, people will sign up for this event to not playing it, but to just get access to the tournament and get the competitor bags and stuff and badges and that type of thing.
Yeah, the exclusive Pokemon stuff, yeah.
Correct. So you cannot let this, sit. You know what I mean? So please, 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 if you intend on competing, please sign up as soon as this thing goes live, because otherwise you'll have your spot taken by literally anybody else under the sun. So don't mess that up.
Yeah, make sure you get in there. And yeah, this bracket has been announced. We already talked about this a few episodes back, but in case you didn't hear it, this tournament is open for every region that competes in Pokemon Unite. That includes Asia, so Asian teams are allowed to sign up and play in this event. Obviously, Europe is a tough location to travel for a lot of the world, but just so you know, if you were a team in SCA and you got a sponsor like Talon or Rise, maybe this is an option for you. I don't know what your org's willing to do, but let's I think it'd be really cool to get more representation. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of my only thoughts on AOS Cup at the moment now. I think we've critiqued a little bit and said what we like about AOS Cup, said what we don't like for the most part on other episodes. But in general, I think it's going to be an amazing event. The fact that we have 8 teams, the caliber that we do from around the world, is very exciting. Kabi-chans look kind of unreal. But yeah, other than that, is there... oh my gosh, there was one more thing that we had to talk about. A brand new segment that we wanted to introduce on the show. Bridget was a hardcore advocate for putting this on the episode, and this, of course, is the Ditto merch drop segment. There has been a new a new piece of Ditto merchandise released on the interwebs. Bridget, please talk to me about the Ditto ring.
this was Zoinks' idea. Let's just be clear.
No, I don't
But
think so.
I'm a known Ditto fan. It's kind of my guy. And so whenever people see Ditto stuff on Twitter, I'm getting tagged, which is totally, I'm glad I won it. But the people can see this. So Zoinks is like, wouldn't it be so funny if you reviewed Ditto merch? Which is true. So keep tagging me because I'm gonna actually need the help now.
Yeah, it's true. Now it's mandatory.
Yeah, now I really need it. But this ring goes hard. It's just like,
oh my gosh!
it looks like the Ditto's like sitting on your finger. I'll try to paint a picture.
Oh yeah, for podcast listeners, I'm so sorry. This segment may not work as well, but it is an engagement ring Ditto.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess because you can get it like, I want to say embroidered, but that's not
engraved.
The term for engraved.
Yeah.
I don't know what about it makes it an engagement ring. I wouldn't be mad,
right?
But maybe most people would be. So
yeah, this seems pretty specific.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right marketing angle for this. It could just be a ring. But yeah, it's really good. If anyone wants to buy me it, I will take it.
Okay. I love it. All right, let's just check the going price. Oh, not bad. $40 on this on eBay. So
$40 engagement ring, good deal.
Palnart pocket
value, pure value.
Japan gift cute kawaii. Okay, 99% positive reviews. Not terrible. Not terrible.
I trust the people.
Awesome. All right. Well, just in case you were all wondering, yes, it absolutely will be a recurring segment on the podcast. It will be everyone's favorite segment going forward. I know it will be. But I think that probably closes it up. Obviously, Pokemon Day is going to be next weekend. I'm sure we'll get some Pokemon Unite announcements. I really doubt we will get anything that we haven't already heard or seen from leaks and things like that when it comes to Pokemon Unite specifically. But I wanted to ask the two of you, do you have any big random guesses? I feel like we're a podcast that covers Pokemon. We have to do this segment. We are obligated to. Any big predictions for next week's Pokemon Day? Out the gate. A new game, announcement, any ideas? Mine specifically, I think it's about time they made another Pokemon movie. I think we might get an announcement of the next Pokemon film, which I know is not like exciting for most people. It's not even really exciting for me. I just get the feeling that's one of the. I'm going on safe money. I'm going on safe money with my prediction. How about you, Bridget?
I try to keep my expectations very low for all Pokemon present information.
That's a good call.
What I would want though. Oh man, I don't know. I just feel like we're definitely getting Gen 5 something. I don't know.
Okay.
Gen 5 something. Remake, Legends. I doubt it's going to be Let's Go, but I don't know.
Right.
They've surprised me before. But I think we're getting some Gen 5 love somewhere.
Ditto Legends, that'd be sick.
Yeah,
that does sound
only
fun.
Dittos.
Yeah, okay, the Gen 5 one is cool. The way it sealed Gen 5 probably for me was when Pokemon randomly like quote tweeted someone's Black 2 White 2 fan art, and I was like, all right, this is like a little too timely, but who knows?
I did see that.
Yeah, the game category on YouTube is Gold Silver. That is true. It's a lot of details going around. Dupes next. How about you? Any predictions?
I don't know enough about this stuff, dude.
It's true. It's probably Pelipper and Unite. That's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's it. You're so
I'm
right.
kind of a doofus, so do I no. I don't have anything. I'm
all
stupid.
Good. Yeah, no, you're not stupid. It's totally fine. It will be Pokemon Unite 2. The sequel game will be releasing. That would be insane.
Moment. God.
Oh no. Smite 2, none of your hollowares carry over. So sorry. Okay. On that note, I think it's a great place to end the episode. Thank you everybody so much for listening. Oh, Deuce next.
Wait, he has a thing.
I didn't know if that was a post-episode or a during episode thing. I'm sorry.
It's a during episode thing.
Okay.
During episode thing.
Go.
So I recently got a message, just a piece of mail from who's or what's this? What are they? What's the name? Help me. Maui Food Bank.
Now we food bank. Yeah.
And I got an update from everything we did last year. So I wanted to share those numbers with everybody today. So last year, Unite Mike's donated to the Maui Food Bank $3,342.40.
Woo!
Which was enough money for 13,370 meals.
Holy
in the area.
smokes!
So make it. We did make an impact out there, and I thought that was very cool.
That's
awesome.
Wanted to share with the folks. The other thing I wanted to share with the folks is we did not do our donation in January for Twitch support. And so I will be doing January and February together here at the end of this month. So I know we said we would do that, and I lost sight of that. It was just, honestly, I just fumbled the bag. I completely forgot. I'm usually pretty tactful on that. And I was looking back for February, what we did in January, and I realized we didn't do anything in January. So there you go. We'll be covering January and February at the end of February. Just wanted to make sure that we were being upfront and honest with that we did not make a donation in January. But it's coming. So there you go. Bang.
If you forgot, that also means I forgot because we were both on this channel together. So, yeah, my apologies to everybody. But seriously, the biggest announcement with all this is just thank you so much for your continued support to the channel. Obviously, any monetary donation to this channel, whether it's through Twitch or like the charity events that we've run in the past, all of it has been going directly to charity. So thank you so much, everyone, for your continued support because we made a really big difference, and that's so cool. So thank you, everybody, so much. And I hope our Pokemon predictions come true. I hope I get a new movie. That'd be a lot of fun. But who knows? Maybe we'll have a crazy balance patch and they'll add Miraidon and Koraidon next week. Who knows? But we'll have to discuss all of that next week on Overdunk because we'll be having the next episode on Pokemon Day. So we'll see you all then.
Fun.
Bye, everybody.